The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reinstated the Speaker of Delta State's House of Assembly, Sheriff Oborevwori, as the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State. The three-man panel of justices cancelled a previous judgment by the Federal High Court, which recognized David Edebie as the PDP's bona fide candidate for the state's 2023 governorship election. To celebrate the ruling, a Thanksgiving service was held at the Government House Chapel in the Delta State capital, Asaba. The wife of the state governor, Edith Okowa, members of the State Executive Council, and members of the State House of Assembly were in attendance. Oborevwori expressed gratitude to God for his victory.
Throughout this period, every week, Mommy will call. He will call, Sheriff, hold on to God. I said, Mommy, we are fine. And I thank God for always keeping me on the holy ground. Because it's God that gives power, not man. And sometime I will just go to Ezekiel 21:27. He said, I will overturn, it, and give it to whose right it is. What happened? God did it. He did it for all of us. So we have come here to return the glory to God Almighty.
That's too good. We are now being joined by a member of Sheriff Oborevwori's legal team, Honorable Victor Ebonka, Chairman, Eka North-East Local Government Council and National Legal Advisor, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, Argon. Welcome to the show, Honorable Ebonka. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good to have you. So good to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So how sweet is this victory? Yesterday there was that Thanksgiving. How sweet is this victory for your party and for Honorable Oborevwori?
It's a welcome development. It was a very, very sound judgment. Much industry was put in that judgment. And you'll recall that a few days ago, I appeared before you here, and I posited several issues. And it will interest you to know that the Court of Appeal has vindicated my position. So we are happy for the Court of Appeal. He has affirmed the fact that the cases posited, the judgment of the Federal High Court is perverse and occasioned gross miscarriage of justice.
Thank you. And this is not the... Sorry, please do go on.
Yeah, I want to let you know that we all belong to one party. We are all brothers. And I want to assure you that as soon as possible, we'll commence the process of reconciliation so that we can all come together and vote for Sheriff Oborevwori. And I want to also state it clear before everybody that the Court of Appeal has affirmed our position that his certificates are very, very valid, are credible, and issued validly. And you cannot impugn on the credibility of the certificates. They have ruled in that regard. And one of the major issues bordering on this certificate is the fact that you are alleging crime, you are alleging forgery, you are alleging falsification of certificate. You need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. You need to ventilate your case in court with writ of summons rather than originating summons. Originating summons is meant for cases where there is not likely to be any argument, cases where interpretation of statutes, interpretation of written documents. You cannot decide issues like this on the basis of writ of summons. and you have to call witnesses. You have to have their standard of proof required by law. You have to call the issuing authorities, and our position has been affirmed by the Court of Appeal, which goes to show that definitely there is no, all his certificates are very, very valid. They are very credible. If not, they would have had witnesses to call. Apparently, they don't have any witness to prove. That is why they went the voyage of originating summons rather than the writ of summons. And the issue of differentials in his name, in his certificates, different names and different certificates, they have this erroneous belief that his case is similar to that of Deji's case in Bayelsa State, unknowingly to them that it is radically different from Deji's case. And the Court of Appeal has affirmed the position of the Supreme Court in APC versus Elebeke on this score. It is radically different from Deji's case. In Deji's case, different names entirely appeared in about 3 of his certificates, and his nomination form to INEC, he has a totally different name, unlike that of Sheriff's case, where Francis and Oborevwori appeared in 4 of the certificates. And the Court of Appeal has ruled, has further ruled, in line with the authority of the Supreme Court, that for you to show that there is an issue, he holds no water, you have to show that the certificate belongs to somebody else. You have to show that they are not that of a sheriff. You have to show that it is intended for fraud, and that they have not shown in their cases. And it may interest you that the Court of Appeal stated expressly that for David to have sued Sheriff in those names, he acknowledges the fact that those names belong to Sheriff. So there's nothing new, there is nothing novel in Sheriff's case. It's just Sheriff is a victim of conspiracy in high places and desperation taken too far. There's nothing new. All the issues that was canvassed in court has been litigated upon in other cases. It has passed through the gamut of judicial circle, from the trial court up to the Supreme Court. So there is nothing novel. So 1 or 2 persons will just within the precinct of their sitting room and just conclude that because the age in this certificate is different and because that one is different, that means they have a case. And that is not the law. That is not the law. On the age and all that, Supreme Court has reiterated it in several authorities that you need to go further to show that according to the Supreme Court, the discrepancy in age, notwithstanding, it must show that it has a bearing with the constitutional requirement for age. And the constitutional requirement for age in this case is just 35 years. Once it is shown that from 1979 till now has passed 35 years, and your case goes to no issue. Argue versus PDP is the locus classicus in this regard. And there are several authorities. A whole lot of them are saying that they are going to Supreme Court. 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 I will advise in the unlikely event that they go to the Supreme Court, but they should recall, they should know that all the authorities cited by Sheriff's legal team and heavily relied on by the Court of Appeal are all Supreme Court authorities decided just few years ago. APC versus Obaseki few years ago. Elebeke's case few years ago. Dantie's case just few years ago on all the issues. So the idea of going to Supreme Court is quite laughable, because the Supreme Court will definitely stand by its previous decisions on all the issues. That's why I said there's nothing novel in Sheriff's case. Thank you.
Like you said, there's nothing new, and it's not the first time that he's also running for office. Why is this the first time, though, that this is becoming an issue?
That is a surprising thing. That is the curious issue in this case. This is his second tenure in the House of Assembly. He has been there since 2015. This issue did not come up. He used these certificates that they are presently trying to impugn the credibility, and nothing happened. Surprisingly, in this government, that's why I said earlier, he's a victim of conspiracy in high places and unhealthy desperation. And there's nothing novel. Even in Elebeke's case, It's even a worse scenario than Ibesim's case. It's even a worse scenario than his case. There's nothing new about his case. There's nothing wrong with his certificates. They are very, very valid. They are very, very credible. The issuing authorities are there. They have virtually gone to the issuing authorities. And the issuing authorities has replied them to say that we issue these certificates. There's nothing special about it. And that's why they went the voyage of originating summons, trying to ventilate tribal issues on the basis of originating summons. And the Court of Appeal said, no, you cannot do this.
So because of discrepancies back and forth, how old is he? How old is he? And also, you were talking about the Supreme Court. You were saying that they should not go to the Supreme Court. They should not push further because the cases that were cited in your arguments were, Supreme Court citations and all of that, that you said largely here. So I'd like to ask you, number one, for getting things clear, how old is he in the first place? So that we even get the facts of the matter. Because the man that will finally emerge the governor of the state.
I'm not very good in mathematics. He was born in 1963, and from 1963 till now, all of us can ascertain his age. And on the cases cited, on the issue of going to the Supreme Court, it should be noted that in arguing his appeal, his team cited several cases. And all the cases they cited are all Supreme Court decisions. Cases decided by the Supreme Court on all the issues that were canvassed in their grounds of appeal. And the Court of Appeal also relied heavily on these case laws, on these authorities cited by the legal team, and also supplied several other authorities, all of which are Supreme Court authorities. So if you go to the Supreme Court, definitely Supreme Court cannot depart from its own decision on all these issues. I believe it's a waste of time to appeal against this judgment. This judgment is very, very sound. This judgment is very credible. And most of them have this erroneous belief that the judgment is a technical judgment. No, it's a judgment on the marriage. It's a complete judgment on the marriage. Definitely, they have no case. They have no weakness. They have no case. That is why they ventilated their case on the basis of originating summons. If they have had weaknesses, if the issuing authority if they have gone to WAEC, and WAEC say we did not issue this result, so they have a weakness in the WAEC, they would have used writ of summon, where they will now summon the WAEC to come and testify, as was the case in APC versus Obaseki. In the cases of APC, WAEC was called. The University of Ibadan was called to testify. But here, in this case, they have no weakness to call to come and testify. So that is why their case is weak ab initio. Their case is very, very weak. I said it earlier, that it will not stand the test of appeal, and I have been vindicated.
Well, Honorable Ebonka, you may well be vindicated again, and your optimism should not be surprising to anyone. But it's up to the litigant to exhaust the entire judicial process. So if David and whoever is in that suit with him wants to go all the way to the Supreme Court, once it's not out of time, under Section 285, of the Constitution and Section 29.5 of the Electoral Act, they may well go all the way to the Supreme Court, and it's up to the Supreme Court to decide one way or the other. Now, I wanted to ask you, how has all of this infighting, has it affected the fortunes of the party in Delta State at the gubernatorial level, that is? Because other political parties in that state were already trying to take advantage of what looks like a crisis within the Delta State PDP.
It has not in any way affected the popularity of PDP in Delta State. Delta State, as you know, is a completely PDP state, 99% PDP state. And we are brothers. We will definitely come back to the round table and work for Sheriff Oborevwori. It has not in any way affected. And for those in other parties who are thinking that, who are hoping to go to Osadebe's house through the back door, they will definitely be disappointed. They will definitely be disappointed because this case is very, very clear. This case is, the issues are very, very clear. Even if it goes to Supreme Court will definitely affirm the decision of the Court of Appeal. So the earlier we come together and work for the success of our party, the better it is. But as I can tell you categorically that it has not affected the fortune of the party in Delta State. Delta State is a completely PDP state, and we are very, very sure of victory. And we are definitely coasting home to victory.
But going forward, how can these situations that continue to occur, how can they be avoided to smoothen the electoral process? Because this happens quite often. Sometimes it comes out on one end and sometimes it comes out on the other, but it does seem like a waste of resources, especially when you get to conclusions like this. I mean, aren't there less wasteful ways in which everyone's credibility ahead of elections can be checked or looked into without always having to take things to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, thank you very much for that very wonderful question. A litigant has a right to ventilate his anger in the law courts. But like I said earlier, the situation has not in any way impacted on the popularity of the PDP in Delta State. And it's a case of desperation taken too far. Only recently we were confronted by a forensic expert opinion, which is one of the several failed attempts, failed stunts to discredit the person of Sheriff Oborevwori and this said certificate. Whilst awaiting the Court of Appeal judgment, they went on another voyage of discovery from an expert who has no knowledge in the field for which he's giving an opinion, an expert opinion, a forensic opinion in this field. And he, talking about the equipments he used, he proposed to have used a spectral comparator, which is not intended to be used for facial image comparison. Instead, it is used to detect imperfections in documents. He also said he used a highly illuminating FOS VM multimedia computer. And this, for you to use this computer, you must show the hardware and the software used. And going further to his experience, he said the experts that arrived at that decision, he's a signature expert. He's a document examiner. He's not a facial image comparison expert. And we go further to the instruments used. He purported to have used a document made 18 years ago. And 18 years ago, and that made 7 and 8 years ago, 2014 and 2017, as the case may be. And he based his findings on photocopies, certified true copy of photocopies. And with this lapse of time, these photocopies may have been affected by nature and all that. He didn't take cognizance of that. He didn't do analysis of the duration of time that has elapsed from the documents he used in carrying out this his analysis. He didn't use the originals. He used photocopy of passports. And you know that passports are definitely not a very, very true reflection of somebody's image. However, there is a striking resemblance in the photographs that cannot be impugned by any expert opinion, as was in the expert opinion that was used in this case. And it goes further to show how desperate they are. Like I said earlier, the expert opinion to me is as worthless as a tissue paper, even a used tissue paper, because it goes to no issue. And they thought that because you have expert opinion, that means they have a hard evidence against him. And they went ahead to circulate it in the social media and all that. And they forgot they tried to gap it with semblance of regularity by addressing the opinion to the police, when the police on their part have not referred any opinion to any expert, have not referred any issue to any expert. And they tend to exhibit in their papers a document purportedly written by the internal memo from the police, from a department of police to another department, and trying to gap it as though it was the police that required, that called for expert. It wasn't the police. It was a voyage embarked on them privately in their own individual capacity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How would you guys deal with the division?
Thank you. God bless.
The camps are split across the middle in the PDP as we speak. The Dewe camp and your camp, the Oborevwori camp. How would you guys deal with the division leading up to the elections? Also owing to the fact that you've got a strong competitor in Ovioma Ageoji, which is the Deputy Senate President, still incumbent Deputy Senate President. And Other political parties have made giant strides in Delta State. When you say Delta is totally PDP, I submit that, I give that to you, but don't also forget there was a certain Great Oborevwori that got over 500,000 votes in that same Delta State for election. So other political parties have made big inroads. So how would you deal with that? Not a united house going to face someone Agege?
Yeah, definitely. There will be a reconciliatory process, and it's presently ongoing. We will definitely come together. We are brothers. We will definitely come together and work for the success of Sheriff Oborevwori. There's no doubt about it. We will deal with it squarely. Issues like this are not new in the party. A popular party, we are bound to have one issue or the other, and we'll definitely unite and ensure victory for our candidate. And for other political parties, definitely they are not making any inroad in Delta State. And it's only a layman, it's only an unreasonable man that will stand today and vote for APC from what is happening in the country, insecurity, inflation and all that. So their misrule from the national level is an edge to us. So in Delta State, there's nothing like APC. Forget what you are listening to in social media and all that. It's different from the issue on ground. There's nothing like APC. Even though Boru that you called is even more popular than APC in Delta State. But however, both of them put together, they are not up to 2% of, they cannot get up to 2% of the votes in Delta State. So PDP is still the party, the strong party in Delta State. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Ebonka, just before we go, in just 1 minute, I read a statement by somebody in the Oborevwori camp saying that they are looking at options and that their lawyers will have advised them as to how to go forward. Okay? There were other participants in that election. What other options can they possibly come up with? Because, okay, if a deviant decides not to go direct to the Supreme Court or appeal, what if somebody else brings up another case and then avoids the technical errors that a devious legal team committed? Do you see that possibility? As long as the matter is still not out of time.
It's not possible. It's not possible because he will be confronted by issue of local standing. But don't forget that before this judgment that we appealed against, there have been other cases initiated against Sheriff in this regard, and all of them were thrown out on the issue of local standing because it must be a candidate, it must be an aspirant that participated in the election within your party that has the locus to sue you on the basis of falsification. Yes, Section 29. Yeah. So they will be confronted and they will be hauled down by the issue of local standing. So they have known, if they think that they have a cause of action, they cannot. They don't have.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Victor Ebonka. Thank you for joining us on The Morning Show.